Hi there, this is the lead developer of Delta Fate Tale visual novel. Long time no see, there haven't been any posts for a while, so it's time to show that I'm still alive and development progress hasn't stalled. Right now I'm working on two fronts, so the game will not be just a picture book but kinda RPG, with battles and movement like Toby's original game. And since I decided to make it RPG-like, I'll have to put some script writing on hold for a while, and only working on it occasionally when inspiration strikes. I've set myself several tasks and switch between them. If I get tired of one, I'll move to another. That way I can juggle coming up with crazy ideas and plugging them into code. As for the script, about half of the first chapter is ready. Here is a Word document statistics for my prologue and first chapter. It's now several times longer than the prologue, and it's hard to say if that's a lot, considering that only about half of chapter 1's plot is written, and that doesn't include the extra texts I write for the adventure map. Right now, I'm writing up and neatly formatting the character's stats and abilities. I plan to include Chris, Azrael, Chara, Frisk, Clover, and other children. Characters' abilities will unlock as they level up, and among them will be normal attacks, magic, and passive skills. And there is actually quite a bit of math here. I'll implement hit miss chance mechanics for both player and monsters, critical damage and critical damage rate, buffs and debuffs in and out of the battle, physical and magical defense, and other complex nerd stuff with lots of variables and formulas. All the formulas are laid out in a document and have been partially ported in the code. Well, Beto greets us with an animation of Tiger Cub and Puppy. Let's imagine this is the animation where the enemy jumps into the center of the screen or something like that. For some reason, I like to polish things before they've even finished, so I spend a long time tweaking screens and bottoms, making bottoms animated, aware of each other's positions, and intuitively interactive and flashy. At the very least, it looks more interesting than the interface just appearing and disappearing out of nowhere in a split second. For the demo report, I fully implemented only the fight button, but that's okay. The rest can be copy pasted in. The main thing is I fixed all the animation bugs where buttons would vanish or overlap. On the right, you can see characters participating in the battle, their health and mana points. Depending on which characters we've taken into the party, we can play as just Chris or control four guys. And above Chris' HP, you can see a bar of little squares. That's your relationship meter. Depending on how badly Chris wants to tell you off, his stats will change, and he might or might not follow your turn's action. And the text in the top left is needed to monitor real-time changes in relationship, and as you can see, Chris' centimeters have increased significantly, but they shouldn't exceed a value of 200. So far, I have an enemy bullet evasion mechanic under the curse of the Renpai engine. We can dodge incoming projectiles if we stand still, but our HP will drop very quickly. So the player has to choose dodge and do nothing, or stand still and lose HP as if he or she has been hit. It's easier for me to make it with the mouse because I don't have to fuss over keys. I can define projectiles and their complex trajectories in a couple of lines of code, and I already have the invulnerability frame implemented, so it's simple to accept constantly dropping HP as a game convention than to write complex Python code to manipulate all these mechanics, as if I were some kind of wizard. But RPG style movement is something more basic. In a short time, I created a room with two types of objects, solid ones you can walk through, and transparent ones that trigger events. In this example, it's a pop-up interaction button, but I could make it spawn an enemy or automatically move the player to another room instead. You can see the objects don't match their textures yet. This small blue rectangle blocks you from a mile away, but that's not a problem. The main thing is to insert the physics layer. I can add the object images later to match the pre-drawn adventure map. You can see all the implemented code on the screen. For now, I'm keeping it in separate projects to later assemble everything into one, like a constructor. But I don't need to think about that too much yet. First, I need to get the individual pieces solid, then link them into something cohesive. I should note that I'm not a professional programmer and haven't fully studied the Python and NumPy documentation yet. That's certainly a cardinal sin, I confess, but it is what it is. Perhaps the code could be much shorter and I might implement some things without hacks, but still, meanwhile, I will be writing some thousands of lines for transforms, screens, and their elements. Overall, work is ongoing. The most important thing now is to fully implement the core code, from which I will build everything else. To finish polishing the action screens, fully understand how rooms are constructed, and how to place objects on the adventure map, and to write out the characters' abilities and leveling. That's it. Good luck to everyone. See you soon.